The Extraordinary Mr. Bennett. A letter to the editor of the B.S.D. journal. Mr. T. J. Kelly, a member of the B.S.D., in a letter dated January 14, 1947, stated that Mr. Bennett, his partner in the firm of artesian well borers at Longford, Ireland, has been working on much the same lines as Dr. Brundler in checking the mentality of famous people, and had also divined the quality of horses, cattle, and greyhounds. He goes on to say, Mr. Bennett has developed the gift of divining so that his mind appears to control it. I have often tested him when motoring through the country to divine water without the divining rod. I would ask him to tell me when we came to a spring. He would tell me to stop the car, that we were beside a spring, that the width of the spring was so many yards and depth of water so much. He would then get out of the car, take his divining rod, and get the results exactly as he had divined. Can any of your members explain this? We cannot. Divining without maps is something similar. We get an inquiry for a water supply for, say, Mr. Murphy of Cork. In a couple of minutes Mr. Bennett will tell me if there is a spring near Mr. Murphy's house, what side of the house it lies, width and depth. Suppose it lies 20 yards to the west of the house. Mr. Bennett goes into one of his fields where there is no spring. He puts down a peg to mark the west wall of Mr. Murphy's house, walks 20 yards from it with his divining rod and gets the reaction for Mr. Murphy's spring in Cork in his own field, and he gets the width and depth in his own field to correspond with the Cork spring. It is amazing and inexplicable. When boring an artesian well, Mr. Bennett always selects a spot on the center of the spring. It sometimes happens that when the hole is bored to the required depth, none or very little water comes into the borehole. The only explanation for this is that the hole at the level of the spring was surrounded by a collar of solid rock, and it is necessary to fire a shot of gelignite to crack the rock and let the water in. To overcome this difficulty, Mr. Bennett now divines the best places to bore. He marks out the center line of the spring and walks along this line with his rod. Whenever he comes to a good spot for boring, the rod reacts, and we mark several spots on the center line so that our clients can select whichever spot suits them. He has been using this system for the past few years, and in every case, results have been obtained without the necessity of firing shots. The extraordinary thing about this is that he walks up the center of springs and gets no reaction from the water. This appears to us to show that the mind controls his divining.